Scott.
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Brecken.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Shaner. Here.
Please stand for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Interviews. Airport Board of Trustees, Mr. David Kaplan. David, come up and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
Good afternoon. This is actually an application for a second term on the airport board. And things have changed a little bit since my first application. When I first applied, we were one of the largest users of the airport as a Cloverleaf Cold Storage. We had a total of 5 airplanes with 4 pilots scattered around to support our businesses. And about a year after I had joined the board, the business was sold. I found myself unemployed. And after 6 months, my wife was like, "You need to get the hell out of the house because you're killing me." And so I'm now an airline pilot. And I'm flying the Boeing 777 around the world twice a month for a freight company. And as I was just telling Mike a minute ago, on Friday, out of the blue, I received notice that I'm being promoted to captain on the 777, and I'm supposed to report to Miami for school on that. So the point is that I bring, I think, a wealth of experience. 40-plus years of general aviation as a pilot, and the last 3 years as an airline pilot, flying basically the largest twin-engine airplane in the world. It helps me have some perspective on many of the things that we're doing, as well as the education and the background that I've had in Sioux City. So with that, I open to any questions.
Question?
Thanks for reapplying, wanting to serve a second term. That means a lot because I know you contribute a lot to the board.
Are you going to have time now with this new assignment?
So far, it has worked out. But it's worked out because I've been allowed to dial in remotely. And so be it Hong Kong, Incheon, wherever, I still have been able to make, I think I've missed one meeting because I was flying at the time. So far it's worked out, and I believe I can still do it.
Okay.
And Dave, that would be my only request is I think you would do a great job and bring a wealth of knowledge. That's for sure. But just hold yourself to that standard and be honest with yourself that hopefully you have that time, especially if you're going to take on a new position. Because I think sometimes when people remote in too, they're not as engaged or as offering advice and things like that. So as long as you're willing to police yourself and make sure that you're a contributing member, I trust you'll do the right thing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And the new position, I'll still be flying the same number of hours. It's just that now they're handing me the keys to a $300 million airplane and saying, "Go move it 6,000 miles." So now I'm the one in charge that everyone else will be making fun of on the airplane.
No doubt. Well, good luck with that.
I don't think they'll make fun of you. That's pretty exciting.
Well, the first officers just routinely make fun of the captain. That's
I
just
gotcha.
Comes with the territory.
Is there any specific project or anything that you'd like to see through, or any improvements that you specifically kind of have some ownership to?
When on my first term, I talked about the importance of pilot training, and what I believe, and we're seeing now, I mean, in the last couple of days, American Airlines has canceled over 200 flights because they don't have the flight crews. And we're seeing a huge drop-off in pilots that's been made worse by COVID-19 because so many of the airlines offered early retirement or incentives for pilots to drop out, and now the airline industry is coming back with a bang that nobody expected. The last reports I'm reading is we're a year to 18 months ahead of what they had projected as far as people coming back. So I'm very excited with some of the things that we're seeing going on. I've looked with interest at what's going on in North Sioux with the airport there and their master plan about building residences and hangars to make it an air park. And I can't help but feel that while we can't do that at the Sioux City Airport, perhaps we could benefit with some more hangar space there for general aviation aircraft. And I think you'll see a resurgence of interest with the new flight school that'll be coming in.
That new flight school is really exciting.
Yeah. And, you know, originally my idea 4 years ago was that we do something through Western Iowa Tech to do an associate's degree, but this is a much better deal. And interesting enough, the guy who's looking at doing this is the guy who sold me my first airplane.
Oh, wow.
Who down in Omaha. So I've known him for many, many years and look forward to dealing with them.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Events, Facilities, and Tourism Advisory Board, Mark Baltusas. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
So I've already been on the board once and had to get off the board when I ran the convention center with Kinshead. I'd like to get back on it, especially now that I have the experience of running the convention center. I think it kind of gives me an inside track on, you know, exactly kind of what we're looking for, as well as on the hospitality side, having that voice with the different events that come into the convention center and how that's going to benefit all of us, you know, as a whole. So that's why I want to get back on.
So where are you working now?
I'm out of the Staybridge.
Okay.
Thanks for making the application.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Any questions?
No, I think you bring a lot of experience, though.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
How
Thank
many
you, Mark.
openings do we have? Do you know? You have that handy?
On the events facilities, yes.
4.
I think there, yeah, I was going to say 3 or
Four.
4 opening up.
Thank you.
And one's hospitality, 3 resident, is that?
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Human Rights Commission, LaShawna Moyle, please come up and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. I am a lifetime resident of Sioux City, and I have recently, I'm a non-traditional, I always say I do everything backwards in my life, so got my education, my bachelor's in social work. I graduated in 2018. I did that at Briarcliff, started at Western Iowa Tech, transferred in. I also double majored in sociology, and then just in May of this year, I graduated from USD School of Social Work with my master's degree.
Yeah,
Thank you.
congrats.
Thank you. Lots of advocacy in social work in dealing with human rights and protecting the rights of others. And so I always volunteered. That's actually how I got my start to go back into education. Was a Girl Scout troop leader, coached volleyball, did those kinds of things. And I currently work with the Sioux City Schools and with the Equity Department, do a lot of advocacy there with my students. And so I just was hoping to do that at a community level and bring that here to this level, if you will. Any questions?
Questions?
Did you say that you're employed with Sioux City Schools right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, they're lucky to have you.
Thanks for,
Thank you so much for applying.
Thank you.
just a
Thank you.
compliment. That's the most extensive resume I've seen in a while. So thank you for including that.
Thank you.
Library Board of Trustees, Lexus, go.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
I grew up in Lamar's, and I've basically been around this area for my whole life, minus 4 years I spent in Ames at Iowa State. I work at FEH Design now, just down the street, and I don't know, I just want to help the library board in any way I can, offer any insights that could maybe help, and just encourage reading at all ages. So, yeah.
Questions?
Yeah,
I really
questions.
appreciate your making the application.
Yeah.
And I'm truly sorry for your loss at the firm. That
Thank
was
you.
a tragic
Yeah.
thing that happened. So I
Yeah.
want to let you know that we're sorry when we got that news.
I know. Thank you.
I don't know how we can possibly turn down a cyclone, but we'll see, so.
Oh, thank goodness. I was hoping you wouldn't hold that against me. Any Hawkeye fans in the room?
Some of the other.
yeah, I was going to say you
There may, but
I think we're,
bet. You bet.
All right, questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
that.
guys.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Board of Adjustment,
Board of
Michelle-
Justice isn't too bad.
Michelle Bostonellis,
It could be a
back for
justice.
another tour.
Yes, hello. I will be applying for a second term. I can't believe it's already been 5 years, right? So during that time, you can look at my attendance. I believe I was there most of the time. Got to be chair for 1 year. I'm also the chair of the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. And I think there is a good linkage between the two committees, especially as that group is still kind of getting its feet under itself and moving. Being able to kind of look to see what each other is doing is, it's been a good connection with that. I think you all know me, but I do have 20 years, over 20, I think, I'm starting to get old, over 20 years of planning experience with, my master's in urban and regional planning, and worked for city government and work with local governments all the time now. So I'd appreciate, staying on the P&Z and BOA. I really enjoy my time on both boards.
Questions?
You've provided excellent service, truly, to that commission. You really have. And it
Thank
shows if you were serving as chair as well. So
All right.
thank you very much. Now, you
Yep.
got your master's. Was that at Iowa State?
No, I was a Hawkeye. Should I say I am a Hawkeye? I cheer for both teams.
Well, you have to with your father. Come
Right?
on.
Right? I married a Cyclone, so he forgave me.
Okay.
Well, at least you're married up anyway. That's a good thing. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
We'll go to the consent agenda, items 3 through 11. Consider them to pass unanimously. If you want to come to the podium and speak on an item, please come as I read that item and state your name and address for the record. Limit your comments to 3 minutes. We'll also have citizen concerns. If it's something on the agenda, not on the agenda you want to speak about, come up in the meeting. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
3 is the reading of the city council minutes of June 11th and 14th, 2021. 4 is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the downtown area on July 1st for the Mardi Gras Parade. 5 is a resolution assessing a $500 civil penalty against Steinbeck's Pub, 3929 Floyd Boulevard for violation of the beer, wine, and liquor laws. 6 are resolution proposing to sell property near 1213 South Roy Street, the petitioner's Isla Jean Bar. 7 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution approving a grant agreement with the Iowa Economic Development Authority for relocation of utilities for the Interstate 29 reconstruction project. B is a resolution authorizing a Gilchrist Foundation project grant application to support the Chris Larson Park Riverfront Development Project. C is a resolution approving a joint participation agreement with IDOT for the State Transit Assistance Grant to support public transit services. D is a runway rehabilitation and lighting upgrade. 1 is a resolution authorizing an airport reimbursable agreement grant application to the FAA for runway and lighting upgrade project at the airport. 2 is a resolution authorizing an airport improvement grant application to the FAA for the runway and lighting upgrade at the airport. 8 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving renewal option 1 with HiChem for coagulant at the water treatment plant. B is a resolution supporting an Iowa Economic Development Authority application for workforce housing tax credit program for the Badger owner. C is a resolution approving economic development assistant contract with Sabre Communications and the Iowa Economic Development Authority. D is a resolution approving a master subscription agreement with Grand Gifts for the city website. E or Fibercom. Items 1 through 3 are resolutions granting permits to Fibercom to maintain underground cable in the areas of South Lewis Boulevard, 225th Street, and Dace Avenue. 9 are actions authorizing payments. A is fund transfers, resolution approving the May fund transfers. B is total payments, motion approving total payments issued for May. 10 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, vapor permits. See the list, come forward if you have any questions. 11 are receipt of minutes. See the list, come forward if you have any questions. I just want to make sure that, yeah, okay. And that concludes the consent agenda. Is there anyone to be heard on any of those items? Passes 5-0. Recommendations of the Planning and Zoning. 12 is a hearing and ordinance vacating Berry Street and the north-south alley abutting properties near West 31st Street, Panama, and West 30th Street. The petitioner is Richard Hansen. P&Z recommends denial as originally requested, but would recommend approval of the vacation of the north-south alley. I'll move that.
I'll second it.
The hearing is now open.
Yep, good afternoon, council members. Ryan Ross, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mayor set that out correctly. The item that was brought before us asked for the vacation of both a portion of Berry Street and the alley. There were enough folks that came forward that indicated that they were still using Berry Street. We denied the initial request, but we did approve the vacation of the alleyway.
So we moved this, would we have to, we'd have to amend it to accept their recommendation? And that was, the petitioner was okay with that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyone to be heard? I'll amend to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
On the amendment.
Waters?
Aye.
Greckin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Anyone to be heard? Hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As always, Mr. Ross, you're welcome to stay for the remaining.
What's out there that everybody likes to go there for?
You can use your voting panels to vote on the first reading. Oops. As amended.
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
I'll move it.
Second.
Greckin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Second and third, I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 13 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the Rivers Landing Parking Facility Elevators Upgrade Project. I'll move that.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? Hearing is now open. Seeing none, the hearing is closed.
Just an update for all of you, since this is an elevator in the parking structures. I just had emailed Monette too, because I know we had all received complaints before about different things happening in the parking structures, and she said they're putting together specs so that we can bid out camera systems that will be at all the entrances for those. I kind of lit a fire and said there is a sense of urgency. We need to make sure to get on that as fast as possible. So she assured that she was.
Glad to hear that.
Passes 5-0. 14 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the Andrew Avenue Paving and Utility Improvement Project. I'll move that.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? This is a hearing is open. Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 15 is a resolution approving a contract to Hebert Construction for the demolition of 100 West 3rd Street. I'll move that.
Second.
Question. It's really simple one. Now, when I looked at the property, it's two-story on one side, one-story on, is that the whole building, or
It's
is it
the
just
entire
part of
structure.
it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it's the
so
entire
two-story and one-story, that's the whole 100 is the whole address?
Right, that property was originally placarded when a vehicle struck the building, which caused a lot of structural issues throughout the buildings. There were some areas that actually had to be shored up before we could even go in and do the abatement on the asbestos.
So it's already been abated,
Yes,
and it's ready to just,
yes.
so it'll just be all,
Started a lot of contractors and business in that building.
There has been over the years.
yeah.
It's served a lot of purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was half of it going down where the two stories is,
Yeah,
or
no,
it
it's-
almost looks like two buildings.
Yeah, it is the entire structure.
Okay.
Yep.
That's too bad, but good. All
I
right.
had a quick question, Nicole. I noticed in the contract, it calls for a $3 million umbrella liability, but on the certificate of insurance, it only says $1 million. And I mentioned it to Spiro, but he said you were, is that correct, or did I misread it, or?
It did say $1 million, and Anne Marie Skaggs has requested a change to the certificate of insurance to increase the umbrella to $3 million.
Okay.
I haven't seen an updated certificate as of the council meeting this afternoon, but it has been requested.
Thank you.
I'm curious where you came up with 3 million, but that seems like a overkill for a small building, but what do I know about anything? You got it. I know, I did.
It's in the front ends for those type of contracts. It's the standard city insurance that we request on anything that comes to the council for approval.
Is that the same for like when you have to get the insurance for like an outdoor event or something
No.
like that as well, or is that totally separate?
That's a little bit less. It'd be the same as.
It used to be $1 million is why I wondered if that increased or not.
Right. It's the same as what we would have on the very large construction contracts. This is small, but we require the same insurance on the larger public improvement contracts as well.
Yeah, I understand that, but that large construction project and the demolition of a small building seems to be not
Sure.
category of work.
Sure, and if the council has other direction to lower it, we could certainly entertain that. We just
Well,
try to be
I mean, I bet
consistent.
that's, in this market's probably costing, that extra 2 million is probably costing $6,000 or $7,000 extra, I would guess. And so you're going to limit the number of people.
I
that'll
think
be
we
able-
investigated that one other time, and it was like $2,500 or something.
Yeah, for like $1 million, but that's not demolition necessarily either. So I don't sell that stuff anymore, but they haven't for years. But I got to believe that's an
That
expensive.
might not be a bad idea to tier it.
Sure, and especially in the larger ones, I think that makes, or sorry, the smaller
Small
ones,
one.
I think it makes sense.
That would be something we could look into. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I will work with Daryl and we'll come up with a recommendation.
Thank you.
But I'm assuming it passed 5-0.
Oh, Julie, there she goes.
Screen was dead, so I thought she voted.
There you go.
Passes 5-0. 16 is a resolution waiving the specific requirements in the SUDAS specification manual for residential development at the residence at Elk Creek subdivision deferred from June 7th and 14th. I'm not sure what I'm moving, but I'll move it.
Second.
Mayor and Council, we'd ask that you move it as presented.
Because you've changed everything?
Bear with me. We've had some meetings with the Chamber of Commerce and Paul Koskovich and Ben Murphy over the last week and reached some conclusion as to waiving the SUDAS with the exception of Singing Hills Boulevard. They've then committed to providing some financial assistance with the upgrade of Singing Hills Boulevard as an arterial street to SUDAS standards. We will bring that back at a later date as an amendment to their development agreement.
Okay,
So at this point, you can approve both items as presented in the council agenda.
anyone to be heard?
Different than, I mean, I know the write-up's different, but so do we need to, we don't need to do anything with the motion?
It'll come back in the development agreement, it sounds like, I don't know. Passes 5-0. 17 is a resolution approving a development agreement with Elk Creek Development for residential development at the residence at Elk Creek subdivision deferred from June 7th and 14th. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 18 is a presentation on the Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan.
I was just going to say too, thanks Paul and Ben. It was good to have you guys in here and have this be able to go through. I think we're exciting, and I don't know if you want to stick around. The press might be interested in asking about the project or anything like that, but at least if I was the press, I would for sure want to talk to you about the exciting development that you guys have planned. So thanks for being here, and thanks for willing to have that compromise in those conversations. I know it meant a lot to me. So appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
We've all been waiting for this, Kelly, so.
All right. Well, we can vote on it quick and we'll all be on the golf course in 5 minutes.
Not the way I played this week. I'm going to take a little time off.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. This has been a project that's been in the works for quite a while. There's been bits and pieces. We've had several presentations along the way. Hopefully you've had time to review the whole plan that was included in your packet. And we do have a short presentation that basically summarizes all of that information and slows it down. If we can pull that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I know you don't want to get home in a hurry, but I can.
No, I don't. I just want to sit here and daydream. There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, just our beginning. We've been at this for about 2 years now. Our first initial plan was presented to Council in 1720. We've been creating this plan as a resource for city staff and citizens to address the emerald ash borer and its arrival. Background, it's a small green metallic beetle that came from China. Started basically in the Ohio, Indiana area and has been spreading throughout the United States. It is 100% fatal when it infects a tree. We've been monitoring that for quite a few years, since about 2005. What you look for is a tree that's the crown is dying because it chokes off the nutrient flow to the top. Once you peel the bark, you have the S galleries. The telltale is a D-shaped exit hole by the adult, and the last photo you can see is an adult emerging. This is basically the time when they start emerging. This portion of the year, it depends on your heating days, but right now in this June section of time is when we see the emergence.
Pull that microphone over towards you.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
talk a little louder.
There you go.
Okay, so we have 3 different strategies. Natural unmaintained areas, maintain public and private property, and then chemical treatment. We'll go through each of these. In natural unmaintained areas, such as this is Bacon Creek, ash trees will be left for hosts so they don't move as far. Where there's trails or facilities near the trees, we're going to remove those. We don't want them falling and causing damage. If there's no limiting factors, the ash trees will be left to follow the natural life cycle of growth to decay. There's a lot of times there's topography issues, you can't get to them. Maintain public and private properties. We'll continue to manage ash trees on city-owned properties and facilities, including but not limited to the parks, cemeteries, and wooded areas in city-owned parcels. In parks and city properties, ash trees are removed. Increasing the removal rate will lessen the amount of removals needed later, and thank you for funding that CIP. It's allowed us to have additional help to keep up and move forward with this at a little faster pace. It also lessened that curve that we've talked about before and include in your packet. You know, it grows essentially, and we'd like to keep it at a more of a flat or a slow rise rather than a quick rise in the amount of removals needed. And the property owners are responsible for the trees on their property. Chemical treatments, you can be done depending on the tree, the size, and what the value of the tree is. To be a certified applicator, it's just like those that are in the lawn care business ourselves. You need to be issued a license by the Iowa Department of Land Stewardship. If chemical treatment's an option, We recommend that property owners contact the Iowa Pesticide Bureau for a list of certified applicators, or you can go on their website and find those.
It'd be nice if we linked from our website to that website.
We will be working on the website. Angel is working on that a lot with Ann and myself. We will have a lot of those links available, so it's just a click and you go right to that web page.
Kelly, is there a ballpark figure number for what that would cost?
It depends on your diameter. Generally, a larger tree, you're looking at, just on the chemical side, not having somebody do it, you're about $80, $40 to $80 on an average. I mean, you can get more specific. You know, if you want to know what a 20-inch diameter ash tree would cost, you know, the larger the tree, the more injection sites you need to do, the more expensive your chemical gets, and then I can find an average price for outside applicators to do it.
Not to get too far off of your presentation, I was just wondering how that was applied. It's injected into the roots or into the trunk, or?
There's several different methods. We are recommending that you go with trunk injection. Rather, there is soil drench, which we're not going to recommend. It's basically using imidacloprid, which is also used in your grub control, and it becomes too saturated if you start, and the amount that you have to use a lot of times will be requiring a applicator's license for the volume you'll need to use. We just want to stay clear of oversaturating a per acre amount. You know, a lot of people use grub control already. If you have a couple ash trees, you're going to use a lot of that in that area. So, and that requires the uptake by the tree. There's also what's called basal spray, but the timing of that is very critical. You'll have to time it like when they're emerging during this time. So it's not quite as effective. This method is probably the most expensive, but it is effective.
Cleaner too.
What we're seeing, yes, and exposure to other insects, other things, isn't as much. You're looking at a 2-year, basically a guarantee that your tree's being protected. There are some that are pushing that 3-year limit. You know, if you have a little bit of infection, let it roll for 3 years. So that's going to be up to everybody on how often they want to treat. But for most treatments, 2 years it's still effective. So it is more expensive, but it's found to be more effective because it's getting it right in when done correctly. Now we move into our citizen engagement, and this will be a lot of what we have on the website. How to treat or remove, listed in your in the management plan, exactly what that is. We're going to have how to choose removal or contractor or applicator the best way. You have to look when you're going to treat or remove. A healthy tree can be treated as long as it's under a certain diameter. Once you get into large diameter trees, it's no longer effective to continually, the amount that you'd have to put in the cost effective at that point. And if your tree is average or below, it probably should just be removed and replaced with a different species of tree. Diversification is something that we're really stressing too. But
That's how we got the ash.
Yes, with Dutch elm disease, we saw this awesome tree that grew fast. It's a hardwood. It provided shade. It was tolerant to a lot of different things in the environment. And here we are, 2021, not learning from about 1975. So hopefully that lesson has been learned. And when we talk about tree planting, we're in very diverse species. You know, we as the city have been planting a lot of different trees that we haven't ever planted before. Ginkgos, sycamores, bringing up that count in population. They say no more than 10% of one genus. So we are slowly making inroads in lessening the amount of silver maple and ash trees that we have in town. We have a long ways to go. So, trees that add property value may be treated. I can think of one that we will treat. It's right in the middle of the Boundless Playground at Leif Erikson. It provides shade, it provides that tactile for everybody that's there, the leaf movement, the wind. So some of these trees are very valuable, so they can be treated. And we talked to her about the size of the tree may require the removal rather than treatment. And if you wait, that decision will be made for you, whether your tree's going to survive or not, but you're better off if you're not going to treat, remove it as soon as you can, because as ash trees are infected, their decay rate is much higher, which makes it harder and more costly to remove from backyards, front yards by contractors and even ourselves. So if you're looking at a contractor, it's easy. Get several estimates, with a concise explanation of what you're going to do, how they're going to perform it, and if you're looking at chemical treatment, what chemicals are you going to use? Make sure that they're using the correct ones. Like anything, when we do ask for insurance, liability, work comp, it's the last thing you want is somebody getting hurt on your property without those things. Partner with your neighbors, group discounts, that's great. And then beware, ask for references. We all know that when the storm comes, we see those 3 guys in a pickup show up with either a chainsaw or a ladder, and they're a roofer, they're a tree removal expert. Beware of that and do your research. Are they in this area? Are they a company that's been in business for a while if they've been out of town? So do your research. Then we get into, once this tree is removed, we thought, well, what are we going to do? So we came up with a tree voucher program. Basically, at the homeowner's request, if the homeowner wants to replace the tree, they can request that a voucher be issued, and it would be a 50% cost share. If you share in something and have some investment, you're going to take care of that a whole lot better than if you just have something handed to you. So that's why we're doing a cost share. Then once we've issued the vendor voucher, you can go buy the tree, they'd plant them, and the vendors would return those back to us for reimbursement. We'd be using the Emerald Ash Borer CIP and some private donations to fund this. And it depends on what volume of these vouchers we can issue, dependent on the amount that were requested also. So, not many vouchers requested. If somebody would ask for 2, we may do that and adjust it annually.
They're going to be numbered with the homeowner's name.
Can do that.
Well,
if I go to the next one, we can change what we do.
I'm just telling you, this stuff, anybody can copy it, so you can't control it without.
Yeah, there would be some control system.
Without a name and a number on it to match when it comes back in to the tree vendor.
We'll work on having a return system like that, numbering. This was a sample. Like anything, this is a work in progress. We can make changes as necessary, but yes, that's a great idea. We will have some form of tracking name.
For verification, is that kind of what you're talking about, Mayor? So
yeah, because
people don't print them off or something.
You just want to plant a tree in a new house. And so you make a copy of my voucher and you're in business if you don't have a name and a number on them. I learned that I know it's hard for you to believe, but sometimes football players learn how to use a copy machine on food vouchers, so you just have to be very careful. The hard way.
Doing that with $20 bills too.
Well, and the other thing too, Kelly, is, and that I know we want to do is track the type of tree and where they're planted and everything. So when people are doing this, are you tracking what tree they chose, where they planted it, things like that?
Well, to keep the diversification, we were going to only allow certain trees to be purchased.
Yeah.
It wasn't here's 75, go pick what you want.
No, yeah, I understand
And
that.
we have 5,000 red maples planted.
Nope.
It would be select from these select nurseries, these select trees, so we can balance, and we may go year to year, like we did with the IDNR, Mid-America Tree Plant Some Shade program. Each year you have a different variety that you can choose from.
Yep. No, I knew that. I was just meaning that when they come in and they say, okay, here's my address, I live here, I planted this type, are you going to enter that into your system? Because I knew we were trying to get a database, a tree database, talking about where they were and where we had concentrations of different ones in different areas. I mean, you would think that if you have a lot of people bringing this in, you might as well collect this information on the front end rather than having to try to go out and find that. I just
Part of your voucher.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, is at least then you have that information, you enter it into your database and have a pin, a pin drop with wherever this is, whatever the type.
Sure, we can keep it like on a spreadsheet even, and okay, you planted a ginkgo tree in your front yard, and I could just run down the address, name, and what was planted there.
I just know you were trying to run or, have a master program of some type to be able to know where there were concentrations of different varietals and what do we needed to do.
We had part of that grant, sustainability grant. It worked in some facets.
Yeah.
Gave us a good
And it's just
idea.
overwhelming trying to go out and mark and identify and then enter. And that's why I just wonder, if we can at least track it here.
Where we can say, okay, we're diverse in this. We planted X amount of these.
Yeah.
X amount of these. Sure.
Yeah.
Keep a spreadsheet of that.
And hey, man, you're the expert, so I'm not gonna. I'm just thinking that if you want to have some of those numbers for future years of what people are buying or where things were.
Okay.
Heaven forbid this ever happen again, or with any of the varieties.
Well, it may, but we know what we need to do at that point. So when we get to questions, there's tree planting in progress. I believe this was over at Goldie Park earlier this fall.
One thing I got to compliment for your crew recently was along Pierce Street. I really appreciate those trees that went in along there. I think that was your crew, wasn't it, that did some of those? I mean, we planted, or it seems like there are a lot in the right-of-way now up along Pierce, from the hospital down to Pierce Street, like Coffee Works and cleaners and stuff like that.
That might have been with the engineering project.
Yeah.
I think it was Sioux City Engineering that was doing the tree planting one day when I was going by. They did a great job.
So I'm glad. I hope you and me talk about it all the time. I hope they hold. I hope they water them and hope they go.
Kelly, how close is the Emerald Ash Borer to Sioux City?
Sioux Falls, Council Bluffs, and Alta area.
Sioux Falls, Council Bluffs, and Alta?
So we're within that 93 directions. You could always say it might be here already. We keep looking. You see signs that it is, but we have not been able to identify yet until you get a large enough population that you start seeing something. If you've got 2 trees within the whole radius of Sioux City, your odds are pretty slim that you're going to find just that at that point. But we've seen some, as you've seen in the photos, where they're dying out in the crown. Some of we call it the witching broom, and we have not found galleries. We have not found exit holes yet. But that's always on our mind when you see some of those signs there, but we've not found the complete yet.
Do you have an estimate for the number of ash trees in town?
I will have to go back and I can email that to you.
He had that once before. It's a lot.
Did he? Lot?
We were
Thousands?
Yes. We were at, when we did the initial estimate, we were at about 33% ash trees within Sioux City.
Oh, wow.
We have, between removing and replanting, we've seen that number decline to about 28%. It's 5%, but we've got a ways to go. But with this plan and your support, we'll continue on, keep trying to lower that number quickly and try to beat the curve a little bit on this.
Kelly, there have been some reports of trees down at Bacon Creek, and Matt has handled that through you or with you, and I appreciate that. Are some of those trees that are coming down on the paths, are those ash trees?
Honestly, I don't know at this time. I don't have a large population of ash at Bacon Creek. The majority is hackberry, a lot of oak in that area. So I would have to go look at species, but generally there's not a lot of ash at Bacon Creek. There are some. And with any time of this year, we see when we have a drought period like this, I see a lot of hackberry failure for some reason. When it gets really dry and we get hot and wind, the majority of the failure will be a hackberry tree.
Oh, I was wondering what the cause of them, going down would have been.
Really don't know the whole, someday I'll get to be an arborist, but until that point I rely on other information. But just from going out with storms and things over the years, when it seems like when we have a lot of failures, it's those, or just limbs that have not been visible and trimmed.
Thank you for the update.
Thanks, Kelly.
Support.
Thank you, and thank you for your support.
I move accepting the revised Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan.
Second.
Sure. 5-0. Citizen concerns. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and keep in mind 3 minutes.
Miranda Cazo, 652 Blue Stem. Last week we discussed the 3-year extension to the contract that I've been talking about for the last month. And I asked what that extension would be extended for, and the answer was performance. And I noticed that the last contract also had that extension, and that was not granted. So in your words, not mine, my assumption is that there's probably a question of performance. And so it would only stand to reason that, as Mayor Scott said, performance ought to count for something, as should cost. And just like the other 20 violations, I have come along in this process. The best answer I've gotten so far from the city attorney in the last meeting was, well, we looked at Des Moines and they do it this way. But they don't do it this way because I have a 19-page document that I'd love to share with you. I highlighted all the differences from the Office of Procurement, how they do things versus how you guys do things. And just to make sure I was crossing my T's and dotting my I's, I had a lengthy conversation with Jenna Johnson from the Office of Procurement in Des Moines. And I said, hey, this is what's going on in Sioux City Council. It is true that if you Google Des Moines RFP, you will get this scorecard that looks a lot like the matrix that you guys sent out. What it doesn't tell you is that this is only the technical ability scorecard, only for a waterworks project. So that's why you see things about deadlines and equipment on here. And so I specifically asked Johnson, I said, so you wouldn't use this in an animal control bid? And she said, oh no, absolutely not. And I said, so you'd gear the questions accordingly, correct? And she goes, oh, absolutely. She also let me know that the conflicts of interest that Sioux City had look nothing like what you would expect Des Moines to have. She also said that this matrix, again, was only technical ability. She says performance and cost are different. They usually have a team of 12 to do that. You guys had 4. So you guys used 1/3 of a waterworks project scorecard, 1/3 of the whole process on an animal control bid. That's how you guys decided to spend $2 million. And so I think it takes quite a bit of audacity to call that rinky-dink operation anything like what Des Moines is doing. And I get that I frustrate you, and I get that you're mad at me, but you don't get to be mad at me because I'm here trying. I'm researching this 20 hours a week on my free time. I am making the phone calls. I would love to meet with you privately. I would love to know what I could do to make the community in this process better, because I'm here to do it. But what's going on now is just not okay. It's not. And every time I run it past another professional, they agree. You will be hard-pressed to find anybody outside of this room in the discipline that says that this is okay. Because I've given the benefit of the doubt, and I go in and say, how am I wrong? Am I reading this wrong? It can't be this bad, can it? And they all say, no, it really is that bad. I got 400 pages in a binder for you.
Wrap it up.
If you guys are willing to meet privately outside of here, I'd love to show you my findings. Thank you for your time.
Did you say you're going to leave a copy of that with us?
Oh, yes. So,
Could you just hand that to the clerk, please? And we'll.
yes, I can do that.
I heard you right on that, didn't I? You were going to leave a copy?
Yep, they're
Okay,
both
okay.
here to her.
Yeah, just over
Yeah.
here to the clerk.
This is the waterworks maintenance. I highlighted all the areas on here that are different.
We can get that back to you after we.
Oh, no, I have it all saved in my binder. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Andrew Velasek, 723 Jones, Sioux City. Just something hopefully helpful. Like, it's overwhelming keeping up with the trees, and it's also overwhelming keeping up with the roads. I see you guys are circling like the cracks right now on the city streets. Appreciate that. I was just asking if I could maybe help with that, because as I'm on my board 24/7 and would be more than obliged to help with circling that, because that's overwhelming and gets monotonous, and I see some missed cracks here and there, and so just putting that out there. And questions, comments.
What do you want to recommend where they need to fill the cracks? Is that what you're asking?
Oh, yeah, like just paint around.
You
what they're
can
doing.
certainly make a list and turn it into the city manager.
Oh, if there's people spraying them with white spray paint, like circling around them, I imagine it's the construction people. Like
I'm
downtown.
guessing it's like the road crew identifying where there have been heaves or where it needs to be filled in or
So I got
things
white
like
spray
that.
paint, and I was just asking.
No, yeah, we can't have you doing it. 'cause then-
Okay.
I think you would have to
Give
get
addresses,
the
you
city
can
to
give
do that.
addresses, but don't start spraying. They got enough issues out there, with sidewalks and people.
Yeah, can you just write down addresses as to where it's
That'd be the
at?
best.
Turn those in?
Well, and the biggest thing too is going to need to know what constitutes needing to be refilled. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
Like,
they
there-
look at depth, they look at a lot of
And
different
there's
things
like
too.
PP paints right behind where I live, and like that's kind of like hard to keep up with because that truck comes there every day. So it's like I understand if they're not there every other week, like redoing that. So like yeah, I understand what constitutes.
But yeah,
that. I'll look
you
out
can
for
get
that.
addresses for us.
That's what
I'll
I
do
would
that.
say too.
Certainly that doesn't hurt.
I won't spray paint the road.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Anyone else be heard?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Solheim. I live at 2909 Garrison Avenue. I'm hesitant to bring this up because it's only June 21st, but I think I need to bring it up because it is June 21st. I had to call the police department Saturday night because of the fireworks going off north of my house. Of course, the police asked me what the address was, and I have to tell you, it was 9:30 at night, and I was in a state of undress, and I could not go outside to see who was doing it. And then again, last night, I had the same occurrence. More fireworks going off Sunday night, 2 nights in a row. And I know this is just not in my neighborhood. I know that it's going on in Leeds. I know it's going in on the west side. It just seems like we have people that really don't care about anyone else but themselves. And I'm really sad to say that or come to that realization. In my opinion, I really think that fireworks needs to be banned. If it can't be banned, then I think that the sale of fireworks should be limited to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of July. And that possibly might stop this fireworks going off at the beginning of June.
Mr. Solheim, you've been very active in this, and I think your remarks today are timely because we're doing everything we can as a community to pull together and say, don't discharge fireworks till July 3rd and July 4th. You and I have talked about this, but now remember, the sale of fireworks was legalized by our state legislature. And that's state law, and that's what we would have to work to change, would be the time period for the sale of fireworks. And I think in the past that has caused some confusion among people that purchase the fireworks and think that it would be okay to go ahead and discharge them. But you've worked very hard on this. I think your remarks are timely. I've also been real candid with you. I'm trying to save those 2 days for the discharge of fireworks, July 3rd and July 4th. And the council and the mayor have given us that opportunity with our PSAs, which you were also involved in. Thank you very much for that. So, you know, we just have to keep trying to make sure the public knows, and we want them to care. We're just trying to change some habits, I think.
I don't believe that anyone can say that the fireworks going off starting the 1st of June is because of cabin fever from the coronavirus. That is past. Everyone is out. They can do what they want to. They can go to the parks. They can go to the lakes. They can go to the rivers. They can go to the movies, anything they want. That has nothing to do with this. Your point about the fireworks being regulated by the state fire marshal is correct. But, you know, fireworks is a hazardous material. It is regulated as a hazardous material. A Division 1.4.0 explosive. I do not see how the state can come in here and tell the city that they cannot regulate a hazardous material, a hazardous explosive. Now, we aren't saying, and in this instance, I would say we aren't saying that it can't be sold. We're just limiting it to when it can be. And I think if it was limited to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, it'd be a great help. I yield back the rest of my 3 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I would echo my frustration, or Mark's frustration. I certainly have heard fireworks in my community as well. I've seen the PSAs going on. I appreciate Dan and those efforts and others. But yeah, it is frustrating. It is difficult to enforce. I mean, I know a lot of people are making calls already into the PD, but it is unfortunate. That's for sure. And it's unfortunate that in many ways the legislature put us in this position.
Anyone else to be heard? Mr. Gretkin.
No, sir, don't have anything. Thanks.
Ms. Shaner.
Don't have anything either. Pray for rain, everyone, our farmers and our landscape and important plants and vegetables and everything that we depend on for life needs it.
Mr. Waters.
Well, it was certainly a busy weekend in Sioux City and Siouxland. It was there was a lot of activity, that's for sure. And so I tried to go to a couple different things, but Rib Fest down at Battery Park supporting Camp High Hopes, and Siouxland Asian Fest was going out in Riverside, and I know there were a couple other things going on in the community too. It was great to see some of that action and activity back. I'm really excited about that. The only other, I just wanted to bring that up for one. Number two, I wanted to bring up, Miranda kind of left before I could address her. I was just going to comment that I have no problem looking over the RFP process and determining if we want to do something different or if we want to do something better. I tried expressing that a couple different meetings. Mayor, I know that you shared some concern. At least I wasn't in that meeting, but I was told that's why you were the dissenting vote. And so I would really urge the mayor, you to work with city staff, or at least let city staff know what improvements you think need to be done. and what we can do better. And I would be all for that. I think that what we did was legal, was straightforward. But I just want to, I'm all about improving our processes in any way that we can. And if we need to, if there's been evidence presented, or if there are communities that are doing it differently that we could learn from, I'm all for that. So I would just urge, whether that's, if you want to direct city staff or give them your direction, or if city staff wants to reach out to 2 different communities and understand their process better so that we can improve ours, I would be all for that.
Have them do that.
Okay. That's all I have.
Mr. Moore.
Mayor and council, I'm pleased to report, and this was in the Sioux City Journal. I just want to recognize them because 50 years ago, student council was important to me in high school. East High School Student Council has been recognized as the 2021 Student Organization of Character Award recipient for the state of Iowa. The Student Organization of Character Award is presented annually to one student group demonstrating good character by the Ray Center at Drake University. The Ray Center is named in honor of Governor Robert D. Ray and his wife, Billy. And it goes on and says the center recognizes Iowans who show 6 distinct character traits, including trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and good citizenship. So congratulations to the East High School Student Council. Great honor to have.
Absolutely.
And any alumni.
I think in 69, some of the East High guys won characters awards too, but not the good.
It was in the other part of the paper. It was in another.
That was under the court finding.
You weren't the student council president?
No.
I was. Well, congratulations. But no, this is really, really excellent. So I wanted to share it with the city council because we have very positive programs for our youth in this community, teaching them about city government and just government in general. And I'm glad to see that this is one of probably many good results that we have. And thanks to the East High School teachers and those that sponsor the student council as well. And it wasn't the first time, was it?
No.
Over the last...
No,
won
and
previously?
they've won other awards, the paper went on to say. But this is the most recent one. So, yep, they're good examples. Future city council members, future mayors, legislators.
Yep. It's already been proven.
That's right. All that time you spent at the library paid off.
Okay.
I'll be quiet now. That's all I have here.
He can remember there was a library down on Correctionville Road. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moore?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Gretkin?
Aye.
You remember that one, Pete?
Yes, I do.